for Harris and Trump in tight U.S. presidential race. Israel formally ends cooperation agreement with UNRWA. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for choosing World Today. I'm Renee Fong. Malaysia aims to enhance regional cooperation and establish an inclusive framework in conjunction with its 2025 ASEAN chairmanship. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has indicated Malaysia's endorsement of China's shared future principle in hosting the ASEAN summit.
As the world's fifth largest economy, ASEAN too has the potential to be a driving force for inclusive socio-economic growth that paves the way for an unprecedented era of sustainable shared prosperity. We're leaving no stone unturned, as you have seen here in China, in promoting good governance and combating and rooting out corruption, as well as implementing socio-economic and industrial reform agenda. Will continue to be inspired, Premier Lee Chiang, by your extraordinary success in battling poverty, which clearly signifies a major achievement in social engineering.
He said this during his keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the 7th China International Import Expo, CIIE, in Shanghai today. Malaysia took center stage at the 7th CIIE as the country of honor, with Datuk Seri Anwar delivering his speech after Chinese Premier Li Qiang. Datuk Seri Anwar arrived in Shanghai last night, marking his first stop before Beijing as part of a 4-day working visit from 4th to 7th November at the invitation of Premier Li Qiang. The aircraft carrying Datuk Seri Anwar landed at Shanghai Hongqiao International Airport at 9:50 p.m. local time. The Prime Minister was welcomed by Malaysia's Ambassador to China, Datuk Norman Mohamad, and the Consul General of Malaysia in Shanghai, Syed Farizal Amini Syed Muhammad. Also present were the Deputy Mayor of Shanghai and Party Secretary of Minhang District, Chen Yujian, and China's Ambassador to Malaysia, Ouyang Yujing. Accompanying Datuk Seri Anwar, Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan, Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz, and Human Resources Minister Stephen Sim Chi Keong. Wisma Putra said the Prime Minister is scheduled to meet Premier Li Qiang to discuss bilateral issues following their previous meeting in Putrajaya in June. China has been Malaysia's largest trading partner globally for 15 consecutive years since 2009. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar is set to invite China's President Xi Jinping to attend the ASEAN Summit and the ASEAN Gulf Cooperation Council GCC plus China Summit next year. The Malaysian ambassador to Beijing, Datuk Norman Mohamad, disclosed this invitation corresponds with Malaysia's role as the ASEAN chair for 2025. He added that China regards ASEAN as a crucial organization for maintaining regional security and stability.
Dan mungkin Yang Berhormat Menteri akan menjemput Tuan Terutama Xi Jinping untuk menghadiri ASEAN Summit tahun depan, dan juga ASEAN GCC Summit.
The government has called on the French business community in the country to enhance cooperation as Malaysia assumes the ASEAN chair next year to create a prosperous community. The call was made by Deputy Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Liu Chin Tong. Speaking at the Malaysian-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry CCIFM Gala dinner, he noted that Malaysia and France have built strong trade and investment ties over the past decades. Also in his speech, Liu highlighted that the government have a mission to make Malaysians and the people of ASEAN richer with its population of 670 million. He advocated for a global shift where ASEAN, South America and the Middle East and Africa emerge as significant consumer markets, thereby diversifying economic reliance beyond the traditional pillars of the US, Europe and China. He also encouraged French companies in Malaysia or ASEAN to pay better salaries to Malaysian workers and the workers in ASEAN to enable them to become middle class. Last year, France ranked as Malaysia's third largest trading partner within EU, with total trade amounting to 16.72 billion ringgit. Now let's move on to the America. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump battled Monday through the final hours before Election Day, when Americans will either choose the first woman president in U.S. history or deliver the Republican an unprecedented comeback. With polls showing an even match, the rivals spent their last day of campaigning in the too close to call swing states set to tip the balance after polls close on Tuesday. Trump held rallies in North Carolina and Pennsylvania ahead of a grand finale in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Harris went all in on Pennsylvania, starting in hardscrabble Scranton and building up to a rally on the Philadelphia Museum of Art steps. At 78, Trump is the oldest major party nominee ever to run for U.S. president. But despite being tarred with criminal convictions and the scandal of his supporters' violent attack on Congress 4 years ago, he goes into Election Day with major advantages. Polls show Americans are discontented by the state of the country after 4 years of President Joe Biden. And Trump's political base is deeply loyal to a man who won the presidency in 2016 and now seeks a return on a message that he is an outsider fighting leftist elites. Harris, 60, faced enormous challenges on being catapulted into the race only in July after Biden abruptly dropped out. Yet in that short time, Biden's previously little noticed vice president has galvanized the Democratic Party. The world is anxiously watching, as the outcome will have major implications for conflicts in the West Asia region and Russia's war in Ukraine. Israel has formally ended a decades-long cooperation agreement with the United Nations Palestinian Relief Agency (UNRWA) that covered the protection, movement and diplomatic immunity of the agency in the occupied territory, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. This followed after Israel's parliament passed a bill that will ban UNRWA's operations in Israel and prevent Israeli officials from cooperating with it when the law takes effect in late January. The end of the 1967 agreement, however, will take effect immediately. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said the agency lawyers are studying the letter, adding that UNRWA will continue its operation regardless. UNRWA says the new law leaves its operations in the Israeli-occupied West Bank and Gaza at risk of collapse. Top UN officials and the Security Council describe UNRWA as the backbone of the humanitarian response in Gaza, adding that there is no alternative to UNRWA. The United States opposed the Israeli legislation on UNRWA and was studying the Israeli letter to the UN to learn what the implications might be.
We're quite clear that we oppose that legislation. We have serious concerns about the implications of it being fully implemented, as well as our concerns about the underlying humanitarian situation in Gaza even before Israel passed this legislation that relates to the inability of a sufficient number of trucks to get into Gaza and the inability of humanitarian workers for a variety of reasons to be able to deliver that aid to places inside Gaza, to the people that need it.
The amount of aid entering Gaza has plummeted to its lowest level all year. A global hunger monitor has warned of looming famine, and the UN has repeatedly accused Israel of hindering and blocking attempts to deliver aid, particularly to Gaza's north. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department said on Monday that Israel must take steps in the next month to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza or face potential restrictions on U.S. military aid. Washington issued the warning as there was no significant turnaround in aid reaching Palestinians in northern Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin have written to Israeli officials earlier this month demanding concrete measures to address the worsening situation in the Palestinian enclave. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said the letter is the clearest ultimatum yet to Israeli government since the Gaza conflict began, raising the prospect of a shift in Washington's support for Israel.
As of today, the situation has not significantly turned around. We have seen an increase in some measurements. We've seen an increase in the number of crossings that are open, but just if you look at the stipulated recommendations in the letter, those have not been met.
The letter outlined specific steps Israel must take within 30 days, and this includes enabling a minimum of 350 trucks to enter Gaza per day, instituting pauses in fighting to allow aid delivery, and rescinding evacuation orders to Palestinian civilians when there is no operational need.
In Lebanon, they play a critical role.
Next, North Korea fires ballistic missiles hours before U.S. elections. Stay tuned for more details. South Korea said North Korea had fired a salvo of short-range ballistic missiles early Tuesday, their second launch in days and just hours before Americans vote for a new president. Tokyo also confirmed the launch, with the Prime Minister's office saying Pyongyang had launched a suspected ballistic missile. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff said it detected the launch of several short-range ballistic missiles at around 7:30 a.m. local time Tuesday into waters east of the Korean peninsula. And on Thursday, the nuclear-armed North test fired what it said was its most advanced and powerful solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBM. It was Kim Jong-un's first weapons test since being accused of sending soldiers to Russia. It also came just hours after U.S. and South Korean defense chiefs called on Pyongyang to withdraw its troops. On Sunday, South Korea, Japan, and the United States conducted a joint air drill involving a heavy bomber in response to the ICBM launch. Kim Yo-jong, sister of the country's leader and a key spokesperson, called the drill an action-based explanation of the most hostile and dangerous aggressive nature of the enemy towards the Republic. Over in India, where a bus has plunged into a deep Himalayan ravine on Monday, killing at least 36 passengers and injuring several others. Deepak Rawat, a senior official from the northern state of Uttarakhand, said the 3 critically injured had been sent to hospital using a helicopter. A human chain of volunteers lined the steep slopes and across a rushing river, helping pull out the wounded from the remains of the bus. Prime Minister Narendra Modi offered his deepest condolences to those who have lost their loved ones in the unfortunate road accident. Modi's office said in a statement that the families of those killed would receive $2,380 in support, while those injured would get $595. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami said he had ordered an investigation into the accident, which took place in forested hills near the town of Almora. Road accidents are common along the many mountainous roads in the Himalayan region, caused mostly by poor maintenance and reckless driving in the tortuous terrain. Spain's airport operator AENA said on Monday 50 flights due to take off from Barcelona's El Prat airport were cancelled or severely delayed after a rainstorm hit the area. The airport operator diverted 17 flights that were due to land at El Prat on Monday morning to alternative airports. A rain and hailstorm hit the Barcelona area in eastern Spain on Monday, less than a week after the country's worst flash floods killed at least 217 people in the Valencia region, 300 kilometers to the south. The rain stopped late on Monday morning and the airport was operating again. Transport Minister Oscar Puente said in a post on his X account, Catalonia's urban train services were also cancelled. Fatalities from Spain's worst flash floods in modern history edged higher to 217 on Sunday, almost all of them in the Valencia region and more than 60 in the suburb of Paiporta. Elsewhere, heavy rainfall and flash flooding hit Bolivia's southern Tarija, submerging streets and affecting at least 14 neighborhoods on Sunday. Local officials reported extensive property damage as homes, shops and vehicles were flooded with over 100 hectares of crops destroyed. A recently relocated and revamped local food market was significantly impacted, with merchants reporting substantial merchandise losses. Reports of looting in the aftermath of the flooding have also emerged from the affected areas. In response to the crisis, the City Hall has opened shelters for those displaced by the floods. Local families are now urging authorities to declare the area a disaster zone. A look at the day ahead in the Asian markets. As investors make last-minute position adjustments ahead of the US presidential election, a flood of top-tier economic indicators and a major policy decision could kickstart trading activity in Asian markets on Tuesday. Among key activities, inflation numbers from South Korea, the Philippines and Thailand. Also third quarter GDP from Indonesia, a services purchasing managers index report from China and an interest rate decision from Australia. All these land before polling stations open across the US. Meanwhile, Japanese markets are open after Monday's Cultural Day holiday, which should boost yen trading volume. The dollar slipped as low as 151.50 yen on Monday as US yields retraced some of last week's steep rise. Yesterday, while stocks were flat, Wall Street gave back some of Friday's gains. Treasury yields dipped and US bond market volatility likely eased off Friday's one-year high. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, is positive on demand for oil in both the short and long term. Secretary General Haitham Al-Ghai said this at an energy industry event in Abu Dhabi on Monday. He added that peak demand would not happen as the world continues to grow. Meanwhile, the CEO of Italian energy company Eni, Claudio Descalzi, said OPEC plus oil supply cuts and recent efforts to unwind them have increased volatility in energy markets and hampered investment in new production. He expected high volatility in the energy markets experienced in recent years to extend into 2025. 8 members of OPEC plus, which groups the OPEC plus Russia and other allies, agreed on Sunday to delay a planned December oil output increase by 1 month due to weak demand in China and rising supplies. Escalating tensions between Israel and Iran since last October have stoked concerns over supply disruptions in the Gulf. The region produces and exports around 20% of the world's oil and gas, pushing oil prices higher. Sports, Mitrovic scores a hat-trick as freshly returned Neymar suffers new injury. Stay with us.
Melaksanakan misi mempertahan maruah, mencipta secara setia bertemu mengatakan cinta dengan pasangan nombor terluar bersegakan satu perjuangan satu suara akan dibicarakan di dalam memburu takkan keraguan semua terbicara membebaskan sampai kenangan.
Kicking off with our sports segment this afternoon, Al Hilal's Alexander Mitrovic scored a hat-trick to help his team continue their perfect start to the Asian Championship League Elite on Monday with a 3-0 win over Iran's Esteghlal, although the Saudi side's evening was soured by a late injury to Neymar. Mitrovic put Al Hilal ahead at Riyadh's Kingdom Arena with a 15th minute tap-in and doubled the advantage with another straightforward finish in the 33rd minute. The former Fulham striker completed his hat-trick with a 74th minute header into the bottom corner from Joao Cancelo's cross from the right. The evening ended on a sour note for Al Hilal when Neymar, who returned 2 weeks ago from a year out due to a ruptured cruciate ligament, was replaced 29 minutes after his introduction from the bench due to injury. Both Al Hilal and Al Ahly have now won all 4 of their games in the league phase of the competition so far and opened up a 4-point gap over third place Al Sadd with fellow Saudi Pro League side Al Nasser, a further point back in 4th. Cristiano Ronaldo's side Al Nassr will take on holders Al Ain today when Uzbekistan's Paktakor take on Al Rayyan of Qatar. The first 8 finishers in the 12-team league phase in both West and East Asia will advance to the knockout rounds, which will be played in March. Now on to European football. Manchester City will have to accept a more challenging season as they cope with injuries that make it harder to repeat the success of recent years. Guardiola said he was aware of the expectations surrounding his team, but knew they were likely to suffer more defeats due to injuries and the increasing level of their opponents.
Y espero que sea un buen partido. Lo planteo en que ganar el partido, en la oportunidad de que si mañana somos capaces de hacer un buen resultado, nos acercaremos mucho a acabar entre los 8 primeros, que es el objetivo primordial que tenemos en esta fase de grupos.
Depleted by a number of injuries to key players, the Premier League champions saw a 32-game unbeaten league run ended with a loss at Bournemouth. City will be without Ballon d'Or winner Rodrigo and Oscar Bob for most of the campaign, while John Stones, Jack Grealish and Ruben Dias remained sidelined. Manuel Akanji, Nathan Ake and Kyle Walker still have problems despite being in the squad, and Kevin De Bruyne and Savinho are improving while Erling Haaland is fit. City, third in the Champions League standings after 2 wins and a draw, are looking for a third consecutive European win at Portuguese champion Sporting, who are 8 but also have 7 points and are unbeaten across all competitions this season. Outgoing Sporting coach Ruben Amorim said he is focused on winning with his current club when they face Manchester City in the Champions League on Tuesday, before he looks to his move to their local Manchester United later this month.
O foco está em ganhar o jogo pelo Sporting. Depois, as ilações que vão tirar deste jogo não são importantes para mim, porque podem ser enganadoras. Ou seja, se o resultado for muito negativo, as expectativas vão baixar. E eu não acho que isso seja um mau ponto de partida quando começar com o Manchester United. Se nós amanhã ganharmos, vão pensar que chegou o novo Alex Ferguson, o que é muito difícil depois de manter.
Amorim was announced as United's manager to replace the sacked Erik ten Hag on Friday and will join the Premier League club on 11th November, earlier than he had wanted. Now that the news is official, Amorim says he is ready to continue doing his best for Sporting in the 2 games he has left at the club, first against City on Tuesday and then a league game at Braga. Bayer Leverkusen coach Xabi Alonso acknowledged the challenge his side faces against Liverpool in the Champions League on Tuesday, recognizing the Merseyside club as one of Europe's strongest teams at the moment.
Because you can prepare a great, you can here play 70 great minutes, but in 20 minutes it's gone. So you need to well prepare you mentally, emotionally, because that might happen and we need to be ready for that.
The Leverkusen coach is well known in Liverpool, having played 210 games for the club from 2004 to 2009 and was central to their success, including a Champions League triumph in 2005. Alonso's side will face an informed Liverpool at Anfield, with Arne Slot's men on 9 points from 3 games and sitting second in the 36-team table ahead of the Germans in 6th with 7 points, while also leading the Premier League. Meanwhile, Liverpool manager Arne Slot is relishing the opportunity to take on former Reds midfielder Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen, calling the Spanish manager special.
That's difficult to say if you don't work with him on a daily basis, that he is special. That's clear. If you go to a club that was bottom of the league and with the same players you bring them all the way up, and without spending that much money in that summer, only bringing 1 or 2 very good players, and he had a season that I think they only lost the final of the Europa League. So it tells you that he's special. What it is that makes him special is for me difficult to say, because I haven't faced him yet and I haven't worked with him. But what might be the situation is that he's worked with very good managers in the past. He was a player with an incredible insight in the game.
Liverpool have perfect record in European football this season, ahead of welcoming the current German champions, who are also unbeaten in 3 continental ties. Now let's move on to tennis. Aryna Sabalenka secured qualification for the semi-final stage of the WTA finals with a 6-3 and 7-5 victory over Jasmine Paolini. With 2 round-robin wins in as many matches this week in Saudi Arabia, Sabalenka guaranteed herself passage to the Final Four as the winner of the purple group. The Belarusian top seed is also just 1 victory away from locking down the year-end number 1 ranking, which she is in a direct battle with Iga Swiatek. Sabalenka bounced back from 0-2 down in the second set and saved 2 set points at 4-5 to overcome Italian 4th seed Paolini, and has now won 22 of her last 23 matches on tour. Swiatek is the only player who can overtake Sabalenka. The 23-year-old, who plays Coco Gauff today, needs to retain her title undefeated and hopes Sabalenka loses her remaining matches in order to claim the year-end number 1 spot. Sabalenka is the first player to reach back-to-back semis at the WTA finals as world number 1 since Serena Williams in 2013-2014. And that wraps up our bulletin this afternoon. In our top story today, clocks ticking for Harris and Trump in a tight US presidential election. Do join us again this evening on TV1 in saluran Berita RTM at 8:30 p.m. for more. Or you can always stream us live on RTM's Click website and mobile app. Till then, I'm Renee Fong. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Have a pleasant afternoon.